Shedeur Sanders has been on an absolute pathway of destruction for positivity because he's been doing a lot of growing, right? He's been doing a lot of growing. That's the point. Bad analogy. But what it is going on is that Shedeur is even impressing the hard-to-impress Browns. So these are big-time media members. What does he have to say? The footwork is markedly improved.
The Browns media did not expect Shedeur to make this uncomfortable. They expected the usual rookie storyline, a few mistakes, some easy criticism, and right back to Watson being the real story. But Shedeur did not give them the easy collapse. He kept stacking practices, kept showing growth, and by the end of minicamp, even the harder-to-impress voices had to admit what they were seeing. This was not supposed to be the Shedeur Sanders show, but the more clips came out, the more the conversation changed. People started noticing the footwork, the timing, and the way he moved in the pocket. Not perfect football, but progress. And progress is the one thing nobody could ignore. The final day made it even louder. Day 3 was the last look before training camp, and Shedeur showed exactly what young quarterbacks are supposed to show in June: growth, control, and enough flashes to keep people watching. He is not just standing there. He is learning this offense. He is testing himself, and he is making the Browns ask questions they did not expect to be asking this early.
Shedeur Sanders has made up significant ground in the Browns QB race, apparently, and is neck and neck with Deshaun Watson as minicamp comes to a close.
One play stood out above everything else. The easy media move was to show the batted pass and turn it into a negative talking point. That is what usually happens with young quarterbacks. One mistake becomes the whole conversation. But the real evaluation shows both sides. Yes, the pass got batted down, but then Shedeur moves the pocket, works around Verse, and still puts the ball into a tight window under pressure. That is how you judge a quarterback fairly. That throw mattered because it showed more than arm talent. It showed poise, pocket movement, a willingness to challenge a tight window. That is not a throw you make if you are unsure of yourself. That is a throw that tells the coaching staff he is starting to see it and trust it. Here's the part nobody is talking about. Anthony Moglen pointed out that Shedeur's footwork was markedly improved. That is not a small comment. Footwork is tied to everything: timing, accuracy, balance, and rhythm. When the feet are late, the ball is late. When the base is sloppy, the throw becomes inconsistent. If media members are noticing improved footwork after just one offseason, that means Shedeur is not just relying on natural ability. He is working on the details that determine whether a college quarterback can actually survive in the NFL.
Shedeur Sanders has been on an absolute pathway of destruction for positivity because he's been doing a lot of growing, right? He's been doing a lot of growing. That's the point. Bad analogy. But what it is going on is that Shedeur is even impressing the hard-to-impress Browns.
This also reflects on the Browns' coaching staff. If Shedeur's mechanics are cleaning up, the coaching is landing. Development is not just about drafting the right guy. It is about improving the things that can break him at the next level. Better feet, better timing, better consistency. That gives the Browns something real to build on. But the wildest part is that some media members went even further. One voice said Shedeur was clearly ahead in the competition and suggested QB1 might be named sooner than people think. A few weeks ago, that would have sounded like pure fan hype. Now it is being discussed because the practice reports are forcing the conversation. Here's the part nobody is talking about. This is not just about tearing Watson down to lift Shedeur up. Watson can have good reps. Shedeur can have good reps. Both can make progress. But the key is that Shedeur is staying in the conversation. When Cleveland media starts calling his days efficient and his footwork markedly improved after just one offseason, that is already a massive change from the early narrative that tried to make him look like an afterthought. And in Cleveland, that shift means everything.
For me, it's with Shedeur starting. And I will say this, it's always fascinating how and I'm not talking about you guys, I'm talking about the people that are on my side of things that kind of pontificate and talk, how disingenuous many people are and how they're looking at this Shedeur thing with disingenuous eyes.
Lance Riesland's comments brought the real football analysis into focus. He talked about footwork, weight transfer, processing, and consistency. Not lazy takes, real breakdown. And that breakdown was better for Shedeur than most people expected. The key line was that Shedeur has not been as high as Watson at his best, but he also has not been as low. That is huge. A quarterback competition is not always about the most exciting throw. It is about trust. Coaches can live with a young quarterback not making the biggest throw every day. What they cannot live with is chaos. If Watson gives you a wild throw and then follows it with a brutal decision, while Shedeur gives you steadier work, that becomes a real debate. Here's the part nobody is talking about. Consistency might be Shedeur's biggest weapon right now. People wanted him to cut down the lows, stop giving them the easy mistake, prove he could operate within structure, and the reports are suggesting he is starting to do exactly that, working underneath, getting to completions, moving with more purpose. That is how a quarterback earns trust, not with one big throw, but one steady practice at a time.
Another media member, here's Felton Jones. I think he's actually in Cleveland. Shedeur is clearly ahead in the competition so far. This is June 9th. I think the QB1 will be named sooner than we think. That's what they saying, man.
The system change matters more than people realize. Stefanski was more system-based, where players had to fit the structure. Monken is about maximizing players and creating touches for what they do best. That gives Shedeur a clearer path to show what he can actually do instead of being forced into a rigid system that does not fit him. And it does not just help Shedeur, it helps the young weapons around him. Conception gets space. Boston uses his length and catch radius. The offense creates matchups instead of just running plays because the play sheet says so. That is the kind of environment where a young quarterback can look more comfortable because the offense is giving him answers and rhythm instead of asking him to be perfect on every snap. Here's the part nobody is talking about. One scramble drill with Denzel Boston showed it clearly. Shedeur kept the play alive with purpose, understood where the route could uncover, and gave Boston a chance to make a play. When everything breaks down, does the quarterback panic or move with a plan? Shedeur moved with a plan. That is the kind of instinct coaches cannot fully teach, and in a competition this close, those small moments are starting to add up in ways that matter inside that building.
The only reason I am is because Todd Monken is. Todd Monken essentially insinuated that the door was closed based upon everything we had heard out of Cleveland and based upon the repetitions. Door was closed. Then you get to minicamp and Shedeur takes every first team rep. Monken ain't no dummy. And this Monken's only been there for 2 months. Monken knows whoever his quarterback is going to be needs as many reps as possible with the ones.
The Browns media was not expecting to have to talk about all of this. The easier storyline was Shedeur behind, Watson, the veteran, competition settles itself. But now they have to talk about footwork, progression speed, command, and consistency. Shedeur is not making the loudest throws every practice, but he's not giving them the disaster reps they expected either. Even Mike Florio had to start creating theories for why Shedeur might be improving. Whether accurate or not, the funny part is that even skeptics now have to explain why he is gaining ground. They cannot just act like nothing is happening. The practice reports forced a response. That is what Shedeur has done. He has made people adjust. First, they said he was entitled, then not serious enough. Then he fell in the draft for a reason. But if the same player keeps working, keeps improving his feet, keeps showing command, and keeps earning positive comments from people who were not rushing to praise him, the narrative has to move. And right now in Cleveland, it is moving faster than anybody expected.
I mean, look at what he had. He barely had this and that, and they won 3 games. They should have won 5. But because he went in round 5, they're saying now, well, he threw 7 touchdowns and 10 picks. They lose all context, and they'll bring up QBR and all that stuff like that, as if QBR matters when we watch Dylan Gabriel perform worse than Shedeur with better numbers. So that tells you how much QBR doesn't matter.
None of this means Shedeur has won the job. Pads still matter. Preseason still matters. Watson still has experience and the veteran advantage. But the point is not that Shedeur already beat Watson. The point is he has done enough to make this competition real, and that alone is more than many expected. If Shedeur stays consistent when the pads come on and Watson keeps having highs and lows, the coaching staff has to think hard about trust. And if the media that doubted him has to keep reporting improvement, the pressure shifts from Shedeur proving he belongs to the Browns explaining why he should not get a shot. Watson was supposed to be the answer. His contract said answer. His past production said answer. But injuries and inconsistency kept the door open. And now Shedeur Sanders, a player many thought would be a developmental footnote, is forcing his way into the real conversation by doing the one thing coaches respect most, improving. And in Cleveland, that's the most dangerous thing a young quarterback can do.
Quinshon Judkins, second-year player. So you have 4 contributors to the offense that are in their second year or younger. Whoever your quarterback is needs as many reps as possible. The fact that he gave Shedeur first-team reps for a whole period of practice, that tells me it's not just going to be landslide Deshaun Watson.
Shedeur is not winning people over with just his last name. He's winning attention because the details are changing. Footwork better, timing cleaner, consistency showing up. And when those things show up, coaches notice. The guy who was supposed to be the easy target is now the player everyone has to take seriously. The Browns media was not expecting this. They were not expecting him to improve this quickly. They were not expecting respected football voices pointing to his footwork, poise, and command. And they definitely were not expecting him to turn a veteran-controlled quarterback room into one of the most interesting battles in the NFL. The question is no longer whether Shedeur belongs in the conversation. The question is how far Cleveland is willing to let that conversation go.